good today. Good. I know.
Oh, wait, sorry. This one.
No, I know, yeah, the third, yeah, I know, third reading.
And
I'm aware.
Okay. One there. Give me 1 second with the IT guy,
All right.
maybe. Okay.
Good. All right. Good evening. Welcome to April 18th, 2022 Finance and Ways and Means Committee meeting. We're now into 2022 and ready to receive our.
move your microphone.
A little closer. Thank you.
Welcome to the second quarter of 2022 and our first quarterly finance update of 2022. This committee meeting represents my ongoing commitment as committee chair to keeping council members and citizens informed, and further represents my intent for this committee to continue to receive quarterly financial updates from the finance director. The quarterly updates we have received since the beginning of this process in 2020 have proved very valuable in keeping council members informed and updated on a recurring basis. As has also been our practice in the past 2 years, council members have received for review prior to this meeting a quarterly refuse and recycling report from Amanda Gamby. I look forward to the presentation and will now ask our finance director, Dana Pinker, to give us her comments.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to just start with our first quarter review for 2022. If I can get my technology here. Tab. Not working. Technical problems.
It's a lovely cover page.
Thank you.
What's the font?
That is the extent of my artistic creativity, and I stole it from the budget reviews.
Well, during this unscheduled pause, I did inadvertently not give you a chance to make any opening remarks, like fellow committee members.
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing how things are going.
Oh, here we go.
Ah,
I have
No.
not. Should I move on? This is just an example of what we're going to go over tonight. We're going to start with the citywide activity summary, give you a cash position citywide. And as always, look at the general fund activity and go over income tax collections and refunds. There we go. Oh, he's working on it. So this is the big picture summary. And just note that the budget numbers include our carryover balances. So they're on both sides of the ledger. We have POs that carry over every year. So we have to, it effectively amends the budget, but it also increases the revenue source as well because it takes the money it was going to use last year and puts it in there. So that's why it doesn't look exactly like your budget book. But as you can see, we are within the budget numbers. Any of them that are outside of the 25% where we should be are really just timing issues. For example, in the special revenue funds, we have some grant funds budgeted to come in. We have over 3 million in the ARP funds budgeted that we haven't seen any of that yet. So that's why that looks a little low on the revenue side. And just for a reminder, the different fund types, the general fund is the big fund. Special revenue funds are the ones that are designated by revenue source and used for a specific expense. Capital funds are designated as capital for the big items. Normally they're savings types funds that you purchase and capitalize those things. And enterprise funds are your business activities, which for the city or the utilities. And it shows there the bigger budget amounts. Okay, moving on. And this is just a visual graph of that previous slide. The green being the revenue, the light green is the budget, and the blue being the expense. And one more big picture. This is citywide comparison, the last 3 years, revenue and expenses. You can see just starting the first quarter, it's really not a concern from a budget standpoint. It looks a little odd that we started the same as 2020, but I just think that's timing with 2021 being such a 2020 being such a anomaly. So we'll probably know more about that at the second quarter, and this is citywide. So. Okay, and here's your cash position by fund type. We haven't had any of the big expenditures that we have budgeted this year. We're going to have expenses for the city building and the ARP funds. So I do expect those cash balances to deplete. So when we see that depletion, probably it'll be most prevalent at the end of the third quarter. That's why. And it makes sense again that the enterprise fund has the biggest share of the pie because it's the biggest operator. And just to note, of this 89 million, 58 million of it is invested. And we review that every month and we actively manage it for our cash flow. So for right now, we're looking for a spend plan on the city building. We've got a lot of that bond money invested and we'll have to start opening some of it up. So. All righty. And this is the general fund activity by expenditure type. You can see where our biggest expenses. No surprise, everywhere it's personnel, salary and fringes. And just for reference, when we do our budget ordinance, those columns are broken up, salary, fringes, and other, or operating. So the salary and fringes are on here. In any other category there, that's going to be in your other that you'll see on your budget ordinance. And then again, the general fund by activity type. We know that income tax is the biggest share of our revenue, but the general fund does produce some other revenue. The income tax is about 60% of our budget, but charges for services is another 25%, which is interesting. And that's our kilowatt hour charge that we get and ambulance fees. So that's the bulk of those charges for service. And this is the standard income tax summary. You can see quarter to date collections are less than last year quarter to date, but we're still within our estimate because the estimates based on a weighted average where we take like 5 years and do a weighted average of where we think the estimate would be for that month. Today is tax day, so next quarter will be a better indicator, actually, probably mid-May when everything's all processed and everything, we'll have a better idea. But from the way it looks now, we are on track with our budget estimates for income tax. And that's just a visual of the same scenario. Shows you the estimates against our actuals. And you can see we are expecting our estimate for 2022 for this April month is high based on that weighted average. So. This is just a collection history over the last 3 years, first quarter, top to bottom, 2021, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And just keep in mind that 2020 is that odd year that we're going to be hearing about for several years. I tried to figure a way just to throw it out, but there's just no way to, you can't just throw it out. So I'm just, yeah, it's there and it is what it is. And then the next one is the refund history. And if you remember, we budgeted a lot for this year. Oddly enough, first quarter 2020, our refunds were high. But we got some positive news from the state on the refunds, but it still hasn't flown over to the 2021 tax year. We haven't heard anything on that. So I wouldn't recommend changing our refund estimate until we see how that pans out, or at least some other things coming through from the state. They're making some changes to how we can contact people and charge fees in that based on if they applied for an extension. And so we can't do anything about the activity until the extension, which is in October. So again, I would at least wait till the third quarter to make any kind of decrease off that refund estimate.
You
But
said there is some good. What?
it applied to the work at home refunds for tax year 2020. And we have most, but we're hoping that it's kind of setting a precedent to go to 2020.
So how did we come out? What did the law?
We were allowed to still deny those refunds.
Okay.
So we'll see. All right. And so just things we have been thinking about, the budget considerations coming up that we'll have to look at hard this second quarter. Everybody knows about the inflation. What I'm hearing in my desk is fuel and vehicles. We can't get vehicles ordered. They're taking a long time, which saves our cash in our capital. But the fuel, eats it up. But so we're just watching it. We have talked about it with the department heads to review their budgets. We know that we'll have some increases or supplementals before the end of the year, but we're also looking at ways to maybe do just some transfers and handle some of the effect that way. And the IT and cyber risk, you'll hear more about that. That's in your packet tonight, a supplemental for some of that. That's still the big topic. It's, and the Chris, our new IT director, has really scoured our risk management packages and that kind of stuff and what he's seen so far and made these recommendations. So overall, quarter to date, we're within the constraints of our budget. It's not doom and gloom, but we do have to keep in mind these inflation stuff that's coming through. And, we're always looking at the income tax. So we'll just take the second quarter to continue to monitor, identify ways we can reduce other expenses and, make the adjustments we can. Any questions?
Well, I would just say that overall, are you optimistic at the tax income versus inflation outlay is going to balance out, or?
Well, I think based on, I'm optimistic on what we budgeted, because I even know like some of the fuel we budgeted for inflation. We just don't know if we did a good enough job at that. And as far as our budget estimate based on, our expenses. Overall, I think I'm optimistic that the city can handle it. Again, based on the targeted fund balances that the administration's committed to keeping and not going below those and being able to handle the smaller things now that hopefully some of the effects of COVID are over. But yeah.
Well, one way to mitigate the terrible negative effects of inflation is to increase our tax base. Got to keep our eye focused on doing what we've been doing and growing jobs. New taxpayers will increase revenues no matter what happens with inflation. So I also don't have any questions. I appreciate the report. I think this is a very good tool for us every quarter. Makes it real easy to digest the end of the year when we've already been updated 3 times previously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, well, now opportunity if anybody has any questions on the refuse and recycling. Typically not addressed it unless there's questions. I do not have any questions. I appreciate the update. And you get a chance to make opening comments. Please feel free to. Any closing comments, Mark?
No, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thanks, everybody. I'll conclude the meeting. Thank you. Even more motivated. Jobs here. Inflation's not going away.
No, never does. It just goes up and down.
Well, okay, the higher inflation ain't gonna go away overnight.
No.
Not overnight.
Took almost a decade. 7.
Oh, look. I've joined the workforce.
Bought their house on Napoleon Road in 81 and
What,
they're
13%?
17. And that was a good rate at the time.
I remember, I wasn't in, I was young. I look at my.
Yeah. Right.
Other one. That's the last. Big month, right? Yeah. The street. Good. And off record is. Anyway, so yeah. And the rest, all just gonna on.
Would you please rise and join me in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Kay, could you call the roll?
Dennis.
Here.
Harold.
Here.
Hollenbach.
Here.
Odricio.
Here.
Phipps.
Here.
Robinette.
Here.
Rubando.
Here.
Okay. The minutes from our April 4th meeting were distributed to you prior to this meeting for your perusal. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Okay, do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yes, I have two items this evening. Distributed to you prior to the meeting was a listing of budget transfers to be made for April 18th. And those require your approval.
Do I have a motion to approve budget transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Anything else?
Yes, one more item. Distributed to you also prior to the meeting is the financial budget summary report for the month of March 2022. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do we have anyone signed up for lobby visitation? See,
No, we do not.
okay. Brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
from the Finance Committee, I have an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
from the council committee as a whole, I have an ordinance enacting and adopting the 2022 S-14 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the city of Bowling Green, Ohio. And I have from the Public Utilities Committee an ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to purchase replacement pumps for the ATAD process at the Water Pollution Control Facility and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Rubando.
from the Parks, Recreation, and Public Land Committee, I have a resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio, to file an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the purpose of acquiring financial assistance from the Nature Works program.
Okay. And I have three from the Utilities Committee. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services or final clarifiers at the Water Pollution Control Facility. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to execute a loan agreement with the Ohio EPA, Ohio Water Development Authority for a water pollution control loan fund loan for design and engineering services for final clarifiers at the Water Pollution Control Facility. And an ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for qualifications to enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services for lighting improvements at Carter Park. Official reports. Does anyone have an official report this evening?
The mayor might.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council. I have two items today. First is I wanted to draw attention to a proclamation declaring April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in Bowling Green. This is important that we take the time to do this. As you're aware, Bowling Green has been recognized as a Tree City USA for 42 consecutive years, beginning with the first award in 1980. And the proclamation clearly states that the city continues its tree planting practices as evidenced by earning our 28th Tree City USA Growth Award, beginning with the first Growth Award recognition in 1993. So again, I think that it's important for me to take a couple of minutes and highlight this proclamation and the city's commitment to our tree infrastructure in the city. I think that we stand out in the field in the state of Ohio, recognized for our efforts, and I think that our actions allow us to demonstrate daily that we live these values. So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to highlight that. And finally, I've asked Martha Wolke, our Community Development Administrator, and Matt Snow, our housing specialist, to come this evening and share with you details of a program related to the ARPA funding that was allocated this year for housing improvement grants. So Martha and Matt, they've worked really hard to develop this program, and we're really excited to share the details and to make these opportunities available to our residents. Thank you.
The next person will have to put that higher.
Martha, you're gonna have to speak really close. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for allocating the ARPA funds of $100,000 for each of the next 3 years to help us bolster our efforts to maintain and improve housing in Bowling Green. Matt Snow, our housing specialist, and I spent a lot of time evaluating how to best use the funds and support your intentions to focus on neighbors who may need assistance with home projects. Matt is here with me this evening in case I need his technical assistance, which might be likely if he asks questions. For a bit of background, we use the biggest share of our CDBG funding for housing programs for low and moderate income residents, manufactured home residents, and senior citizens. CDBG money comes with a long list of strings attached to it. Within the CDBG program, just so that you're aware of what kinds of projects we funded with that for the last funding year, which ended actually in August 31st of 21, we've provided 4 new roofs, 3 window replacement projects, 2 full gutter replacements, 2 exterior door replacements, 5 accessibility projects, 2 electrical upgrades, and 23 furnace, air conditioner, or water heater replacements. However, as you know, we have a lot more needs than funds. That's where we look forward to using the ARPA funding. We met with the mayor and with Lori this winter to develop a plan, and we're now ready to implement it. Matt keeps really detailed lists of residents he's been able to assist, but also those he's not been able to assist for a variety of reasons. Either we've run out of money, or they're over the income limits, et cetera. There's a waiting list for some of our services, as well as this list of people who didn't meet those income requirements. Of those on the current waiting list, we can tell you that 54% of them were looking for assistance with exterior projects, while 46% were looking for heating, plumbing, and electric work. We feel like in year 1, we'll be able to address the waiting list, provide necessary repairs and rehabilitation for homeowners on the list Matt's been keeping. So for this first year, we plan to limit our use of the funds to homeowners only. We have a plan in place to contact those on the waiting list, and after year 1, we'll evaluate what we hope are our successes and determine if we want to do any updates to the guidelines to include any small landlord projects. We're proposing moving away from some of the strict guidelines from CDBG funding for our ARPA funds. We'll use a different set of income guidelines that are based on 300% of the federal poverty level. This will open up the program to more homeowners, as the income limits are higher than they are on CDBG limits. The limits provide higher limits, especially for households in the 3 to 6 person range, which better allows assistance for working families in Bowling Green. Our plan is for a $20,000 limit for stick-built residences and $10,000 for manufactured homes. Those limits are also higher than our CDBG limits. Our goal is to assist primarily with exterior improvements, roofs, windows, gutters, et cetera. But if we have a safety and security request for interior work, we could accept that in the program. That's where we would see electrical system upgrades, those kinds of things. I personally believe that maintaining both the insides and the outsides of homes serves to enhance our community. Income will be self-certified by the homeowner via a notarized statement, and will not review income or assets, which allows us to be more efficient with the use of our time during this, because we will still also be using our CDBG programs. We are currently using a single application. So when a potential person calls in to get funding, Matt talks with them and takes basic application information. The advantage of this pre-application is that Matt developed this himself, is that a resident doesn't have to know what program they're going to qualify for. We'll assist them with the technical part of their qualification. We want the process to be really seamless for our residents and to be as easy as possible for them to contact us and us fit them in the right slot. For our residents' protection, we'll use some of the CDBG requirements for things like lead-based paint abatement, contractor selection, and the Davis-Bacon rules. We are really looking forward to implementing this, and we could start on May 2nd, assuming you approve of our plan. We hope that you're in agreement that we've addressed the needs that you've recognized in our neighborhoods. And at this point, we'll take any questions you have.
Are there any questions?
I just have a quick question. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. I know housing's a big need here in Bowling Green, so we really appreciate that this is a focus. Just for people who are listening or into it, you were talking about people can call Matt to apply for these loans. What would be like the best way to, is you just call into your office? Do you have a phone number that would be available for the press to maybe publish or something like that?
Absolutely. Go ahead. What's your?
Okay. It's 419-354-6221, or you could email also at msnow@bgohio.org.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Matt.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody have any further questions for us?
Any other questions? All right. Well, I look forward to hearing at a later date about your successes and challenges.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes my report, subject to any questions that you have.
Well, that wasn't your official report.
Well, kinda. No,
Don't worry, I'll be asking again in a minute.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank Martha and Matt for their hard work. They worked really hard to put together the program, and I think that we all agree that it's very likely that this program will have a very positive impact on our neighborhoods and our efforts to promote neighborhood revitalization. So very much looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see. Municipal administrator. Are there any questions for Ms. Treader?
None.
City attorney, Mr. Marsh. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Marsh? Public Services Director, Mr. Fawcett.
Good evening. In the theme of guest speakers, I have two additional guest speakers for you. Emma Snyder and SD Miller are two graduate students at BGSU who helped us with the community random sample survey regarding bicycle treatments. With that, I will hand it over to Emma and SD.
Hi, we're so happy to be here. My name's Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Esty. Okay, so first we want to preface by just saying this is preliminary still. So our group, there are 3 other members of our group, and we're kind of still working on getting a full data analysis and full report over to everybody. But we really welcome any questions that you all have or any feedback that you have for things that you want to know after we kind of present some of our main preliminary findings. So we'll go ahead. I'll go over the methodology that we use. So this was a collaboration between our group, 5 MPA graduate students, as part of our capstone class. And obviously we also work with some BG City stakeholders here. So it was a paper survey, as you may know, and it had 20 questions. There were multiple choice, a series of ranking questions, long answer, kind of extended response, and Likert scales. There was an incentive that we used to kind of encourage people to participate, which was downtown dollars. So a lot of people did fill out their information to get the incentive. So that was great. So a couple numbers that are worthy to note: we sent 2,080 paper surveys out by mail, and we had 17 return to sender. So those never made it to a doorstep. So we kind of subtract those from the count. So We received back 367, which is about an 18% response rate, which is pretty typical for paper surveys like these. So that equates to a 95% confidence level with a 5% margin of error. And all that means is that if we were to do this study 100 times, 95 of those 100 times, we would produce the same results within a 5% margin of error. After the paper surveys were collected, we worked to insert all of the data into a survey platform called Qualtrics. So we each did around 75 surveys, and then we went back and double checked for kind of reliability there to make sure our responses were accurate. So next we have some demographic data that Emma will kind of go over to show you who kind of took the survey.
Yeah, so this will be great for you guys based on your wards. So this is how many people took it on the wards. Obviously, Ward 4 was the highest. We didn't get any BGSU responses from the university, which is what we were hoping to get, at least some, but in this case, we did not get any, but it was still okay because we got a lot of responses within the margin of error. So next slide. Okay, and this is our survey demographic by age. So this is the individual who is taking the survey. We did get a larger portion of individuals taking the survey who were over the age of 61, which is okay. Not many of them ride a bike. And I'm not trying to say all the negative stuff. This was a great survey, but we did get as much information as we were hoping to get. So, okay. And then they were asked how many people lived in their household and what their ages were, and then kind of went into, does your family ride a bike, stuff like that. So we had 144 respondents, was the largest category in ages of 26 to 49. So that's a pretty good generalization of who rides a bike at that age.
Okay, so next we'll kind of bounce off of each other to kind of just present some main findings that we have concluded so far. So the main reasons that people in Bowling Green are riding their bikes is for exercise and fun. If they're riding to a specific place, most residents indicated that they're riding to stores or restaurants. And we have a breakdown of all the specifics in an appendix that you can all view later. The main reason people are not riding their bike is because they prefer to get around another way or walk. So
yeah, most bicyclists to feel safe and comfortable riding their bike in Bowling Green. 68% of people, 62% of households, respondents would bike more often if they felt more safe. 55% of people and 53% of their households felt that way.
So it was kind of close for those that would support a tax levy or were in favor of losing parking. So just under half of the respondents said that they would support a tax levy to kind of raise dollars for more biking infrastructure updates, whereas 31% were against. So that was strongly agree or agree. We considered support a levy or disagree or strongly disagree or against. And more people are against losing their parking. So 40% are against and 33% would be comfortable with it. So, and then the other thing, so residents are kind of completely against their streets becoming a one-way street or losing part of their yard for biking infrastructure.
Yeah, those were the most entertaining surveys to read, for sure. The top 3 suggestions for making bicycling more safe and comfortable in Bowling Green are physically separated bike lanes in the streets, multi-use paths, and on-street painted bike lanes.
So at this point, we'll stop. All of the rest of the slides, we have all of the breakdowns for all 20 questions, and we're not going to bore you going through all of those, but they're there for you to view. But we really want to know if you have questions or feedback or more things that you are hoping to learn from the survey so we can kind of direct our final report and really refine our findings.
Yep, to go into our final report. So this is like your time to shine.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
First of all, Emma, SD, thank you for doing this
Yeah, of
and
course.
presenting this. It's definitely a long time coming on this survey, so we appreciate getting the results. As far as the demographic data, how closely does that resemble the actual city? Like the demographics of the city?
That is a great question that I do not know off the top of my head, but that is definitely something that I know I have on a list somewhere to look at to include in the final report.
Mhm.
So, of
Okay, cool. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
course.
Any other questions?
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
just have a comment, and that is to thank you for all the work you did. I know you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, and I look forward to the final report. Looks, you definitely put the work in. I
Thank
appreciate
you. We can't wait to give it to you.
it. I bet.
Yeah, I also would like to thank you. And you don't need to answer this right now. I'm just looking at what you have up here, and it says that a majority of residents are against one-way streets and against losing part of their yard or parking, but yet the suggestions that people made for making bicycling more safe would mean that those things would
Yeah.
have to happen.
Yep.
So,
Interesting.
all right. Well, I look forward to seeing the final report. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You have anything else?
Unless you have questions for me. That's all I have.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Fawcett? All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see. Public Infrastructure Director, Mr. O'Connell. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. O'Connell this evening? Okay. That brings us to council committee reports.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
the Finance Ways and Means Committee met tonight and received the update for the first quarter, financial update for the first quarter. There were no issues or concerns, and everyone should have received or could receive a copy of that. And there were, and also prior to that, prior to the meeting, a recycling report was emailed to everyone as well. And there were no questions or concerns on that report. So,
Any other council committee reports? Hearing none, that brings us to the reading of legislation. Okay.
Legislation for first reading, resolution number 3821 for first reading. Resolution authorizing the mayor of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio to file an application and enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the purpose of acquiring financial assistance from the Nature Works program. Ordinance number 9001 for first reading, ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 9001 its second and third readings.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Okay.
Harold,
Yes. Yes.
Hollenbach,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended for ordinance 9001.
Ordinance number 9001 for second and third reading, ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31, 2022.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
I move to adopt ordinance 9001.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Hollenbach,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 9001 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9002 for first reading, ordinance enacting and adopting the 2022 S14 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the city of Bowling Green, Ohio.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
I move that we suspend the rules and give ordinance 9002 its second and third reading.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Okay.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach.
Yes, the rules are suspended for ordinance 9002.
Ordinance number 9002 for second and third reading, ordinance enacting and adopting the 2022 S14 supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the city of Bowling Green, Ohio.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold,
I move that we adopt ordinance 9002.
Second.
okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Odericio.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 9002 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9003 for first reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to purchase replacement pumps for the ATAD process at the Water Pollution Control Facility and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold,
I move that we suspend the rules and give second and third reading to ordinance 9003.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any? No, there's no discussion. Call the roll.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
Yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
and Phipps.
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended for ordinance 9003.
Ordinance number 9003 for second and third reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to purchase replacement pumps for the ATAD process at the Water Pollution Control Facility and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold,
I move that we adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 9003.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Okay, the emergency clause has been granted for ordinance 9003.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold,
I move that we adopt ordinance 9003.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 9003 is adopted.
Ordinance number 9004 for first reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services for final clarifiers at the Water Pollution Control Facility. Ordinance number 9005 for first reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to execute a loan agreement with the Ohio EPA, Ohio Water Development Authority for a water pollution control loan fund loan for design and engineering services for final clarifiers at the Water Pollution Control Facility. Ordinance number 9006 for first reading, ordinance authorizing the utilities director to advertise for qualifications and enter into a contract or contracts for engineering services for lighting improvements at Carter Park. Legislation for second reading. Ordinance number 8998 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to enter into a contract or contracts to complete odor control improvements at the Poe Mercer Pump Station. Ordinance number 8999 for second reading. Ordinance authorizing the utilities director to enter into a contract or contracts for repairs to the flocculation tank and sedimentation basin at the water treatment plant. Legislation for third reading. Ordinance number 8995 for third reading. Ordinance authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2022 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette,
I move we adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 8995.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay,
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbach,
yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
All right, the emergency clause is adopted for ordinance 8995.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette,
I move that we adopt ordinance 8995.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay,
Hollenbach,
yes.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rubando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 8995 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8996 for third reading, ordinance authorizing the Public Services Director to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Transportation for the catastrophic snowfall program for state fiscal years 2022 and 2023, and giving consent of the City of Bowling Green for ODOT to provide secondary snow and ice removal and to use snow and ice control material on roads within the jurisdiction in the event of 16 or more inches of snowfall within a 24-hour period.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
I move that we adopt ordinance 8996.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Odericio,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette,
Yes.
Rabando,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Hollenbaugh.
Yes, ordinance 8996 is adopted. All right, so apart from the tabled items, that concludes items on the agenda. Is there any other business to come before council?
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold,
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, you made it to 9,000.
Yep.
She's not done yet.
I started around 5,000.
Well, hopefully we don't get to
It's a
10,000.
lot. Not in 2 more meetings, please.
No.
That's why.
What the wording for what the number was when I first got on the council. I was wondering if I laughed myself.
Yeah.
And no, it was 4,000.
Being friendly is always a good